Okay, well, good afternoon. Welcome to our program today, Garment Care Basics for Full Service Operators. So we've been doing something different with our webinars this year. We have been featuring the topic that has run in a feature article in Planet Laundry magazine. So if you read through your August issue, this was the feature article. So some of the things that we're going to cover will build on to that article. The way we're going to do this today is we'll start off with some questions for our presenter, and you're very lucky that our presenter today is Jeff Gardner. Most of you may know him as the Laundry Doctor, formerly known as the Laundry Doctor. Has written a study column in Planet Laundry magazine. So we'll start off with asking him a few questions, and then you're welcome to ask questions of him. The way you'll do that is the control panel on your right side. There's a box that says questions. If you just type it in there at any point, we will get to those questions. And then we have a video to show you at the end. But before we get started with our program, I want to thank our sponsor today, iLaundry. And I am going to turn this over to Nadia Russo, I think is how we pronounce it. She's going to share a little bit of information on iLaundry.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Let's see if we can make this thing rock and roll for us. I'm going to click show. I don't really see the request yet. Oh, wait. Did it work?
Yep, can see your screen.
Amazing. All right, guys. So just give me 1 second to get percolated here. Bear with me. I am quasi new to GoToWebinar. So let me just put this in presenter mode here. Okay. See here. Sorry, guys. Give me 1 second. All right. There we go. Is that full screen? There we go. All right. So thank you, everybody, for being here. I'm not going to take a whole lot of time, but I do want to introduce you to iLaundry app, which is a new, exciting opportunity for you guys who are looking to streamline your operations, attract more customers, especially those millennial and Gen Z customers who might not always just step into a laundromat location, but more likely be on their phones looking for different opportunities to make their lives simpler, along with just maximizing your existing base. So in short, we are the premier laundry app headquartered in Austin, Texas, offering laundromats an opportunity to get new business and obviously boost your revenue. The mission is really to empower local economies throughout the United States. Moving on here. So here are some of the benefits of becoming a provider. And I just want to note it is pretty easy to become a provider with iLaundry. Sometimes new apps and applications make it super complicated and difficult, which is like, you start the process and then you just want to escape because it's just too long. But it's a very straightforward process. You can do it right on the iLaundry website, which I will have a QR code up for you guys to scan and bring that up to sign up. It's completely free to sign up. These are just a few of the benefits that you can get as being a provider with iLaundry. Unlimited access, obviously, to all of the users on the app, full control on the pricing of your services, so you can totally upsell things if you want to, live tracking of orders, direct deposit is easy to set up, and if you have your own driver, you can easily implement, get them in there so they can help you with the pickup and delivery, and it's all streamlined in the app, which is of course available for both Apple and Google. So if you want to sign up, this is the QR code where you can do so. I would highly suggest that you do it soon because there is definitely a lot going on. Bear in mind that, if you're trying to capture that millennial or Gen Z audience, again, like they are not always just walking around like looking for things, they're looking for efficiency. And so if you can capture those people who are looking for efficiency, then this is the way to do it. Once you register, you will gain access to a wide customer base and the tools to manage your laundromat operations efficiently. So that is really it for us today. Again, check us out, follow us on social. That QR code will take you right to the sign up page if you have any questions, and obviously you can be put in touch with me. And other than that, I thank you so much for your time today, and I hope you guys have a great educational experience. Turning it back.
Great, thank you. And Nadia, remind me again what issue of Planet Laundry you'll be featured in, iLaundry is in?
I believe it's already live because I think that was shared over. So
Okay, so probably the August issue then, August or
I
September.
think it was August or September. It was September, I think. Yeah.
So again, if you want to learn more, there is a nice article in Planet Laundry about their company. So thank you. All right, let's move on to our program. So as I mentioned, you're in for a very special treat today, and Mr. Gardner did me a very big favor by agreeing to present today, and he's definitely the best. So we're excited to have him here. So as I mentioned, this is kind of taking what was in the magazine and having Jeff kind of share his advice on some of the information. So I'm going to start with a few questions. Again, as I mentioned, if you have questions for him, we'll be taking those as well. So at any point, start typing those into the question box. So first topic is understanding care labels. So it's important to understand the care labels that are provided by garment manufacturers, or you can easily ruin a garment after just one cleaning. So Jeff, what tips do you have for newer operators and how to read the labels and make sure that they are followed?
So, being on the laundry side, not the dry cleaning side, care labels were almost exclusively created for professional dry cleaners. And we as laundry operators tend to, stick our nose in that area more and more with the onset of wash, dry, fold, and it becoming a bigger and bigger sector in our business. So, in the past, we didn't really look at care labels because we kind of assumed the customer would only give us stuff that they deemed to be washable. But even in our business, you never know when somebody's going to give you a dry clean garment, or even more deadly than a dry clean garment, that brand new red garment that even could be, cotton and launderable. Were all, huge threats are still huge threats to the laundry industry. But let's talk a little bit about care labels, understanding them, and why they're important and why they're actually potentially more dangerous. So care labels came about because manufacturers were held responsible for producing a way that you could clean their garments. And our sister agency, the International Dry Cleaners Association, actually has labs that will test the garment if the garment is defective, and it will write up a response that is basically supports that the product was improperly designed or the label is inappropriate, because dry cleaners see this all the time. They see labels that don't match the care for the garment. So we started training our employees, especially when we were taking in dry cleaning, like a lot of us do, to look and read the caretaking or the garment care label. There are actually garment care labels out there that we've seen. I should have brought some pictures of it. Somewhere I have pictures of them that say, do not clean, do not dry clean, do not wet clean. And they have absolutely no clean instructions. So there are manufacturers that have said to their consumer that you're buying something that you can't even take care of going forward. And that they exist. And they're usually high-end very expensive garments that they've produced in a way that, you know, they won't even stand up to a wash, because what they do is they put a finish on it that won't stand any mechanical action or any kind of direct, you know, cleaning. So it's really important, especially if you're taking in dry cleaning, to make sure your
Someone that's like,
employees
can I get to know you more?
all of the, sorry, I
Can
got
I
some
get to know me in what capacity?
Nadia, can you mute yourself, please?
On Instagram. Stupid. It's like a weird sun man.
I'll continue and try to talk over Nadia. Anyways,
Yeah, why would I want to get like what? That sounds so dumb.
sorry. So it's, anyways,
I muted her.
What we did is we basically trained anybody like you would train an employee at a dry cleaning operation. Examine every every care label on every garment when it comes in, and point out, you know, some of the unique things to the customer when it comes in across the counter. But like I said, the most important thing is to know the garment, and especially from a washing standpoint, know what your risks are with, you know, certain types of garments. And I know there's a list of things that, you know, you could potentially, we're going to talk about later, that you probably should or shouldn't clean. But for the most part, you know, I would have, if you're just doing wash, dry, fold, have a sign up saying you're not responsible, you know, only give us garments that are washable. If you're doing a higher end product and you want to, and if you're charging, you know, these new higher end wash, dry, fold prices over $2 a pound and whatnot, you're expecting to give a higher quality product, then maybe you are looking at every individual garment and you're sorting it, and you're going to do things that we're going to talk about here, other cleaning processes. You're going to take the actual initiative to produce some of those products. So let's go on to the next question.
All right, so the next area has to do with choosing the right cleaning product. So there's many types of detergents and bleaches and softeners that are on the market today. What advice can you give to operators in choosing the right cleaning product for the item they're washing? And are there any products or even ingredients that they should avoid?
Well, for about 10 years, we completely, when we were doing really light duty commercial work and really focused on wash, dry, fold. At one of our stores, we really only did wash, dry, fold. We completely eliminated chlorine bleach from our inventory, because I'm sure other folks have had this happen, but I've had employees literally dump chlorine bleach accidentally or intentionally, not knowing that it, you know, what the effects were on a load of you know, colored items, and pulled color in the entire load and destroyed it and had to replace it. So chlorine bleach is really only good for truly, you know, white colors and or polyesters, things that are not anything that the dye is not applied after the fabric is made. If there's dye applied to the fabric after it's been made, chlorine bleach will pull it at one point in time or another. If the fabric is made with the dye already in it, like polyesters, you know, the color of the fabric is actually manufactured. That is generally safe for chlorine bleach. And it's just, it's not worth the risk. So I've always said, you know, don't, if you're just doing wash, dry, fold, you can get just as good a results with oxygen bleach and a little bit more temperature on your whites. And then oxygen bleach, even as a liquid, is going to be more effective. So here's some of the things for cleaning products that I talk about. Powdered detergents are always less expensive and more effective if you have the right temperatures to wash in, because they're concentrated. If you're doing quality work in a self-service operation where you don't have your water temperatures or the ability to deliver more than 110 degrees of water temperature inside your drum of your washer. And when I say that, I mean your water heater might be set at 120 or 130, but you're actually probably not going to deliver that directly to the drum. And if it's mixing it all with cold when it goes in, you're not going to get that temperature in the drum at all. Really, the best dry products are going to react and be more effective at temperatures over 110 degrees. You will get some effect out of stuff, down to 80. Once you get below 50 degrees, so if you're in Minnesota, like where I am, and it's the wintertime and you're running your washers on cold water, even the Tide wash and cold products don't work effectively when the inside, the water temperature you're putting in the drum is less than 50 degrees. So you really need to make sure that the water temperature it's a real critical part of whatever products you decide to use. And if you're obviously in Arizona or a southern state, you're never going to have this problem. But if you're in a northern state, and your water temperatures drop much below, below 50 or even 60 degrees in the wintertime, you're going to lose a lot of effective cleaning ability, if have any cleaning ability beyond the natural cleaning ability of water, if when those temperatures are that low. If you're not, and you certainly should be using in the lower temperatures a liquid product that will activate immediately. Even when I first started, we had injected chemicals in our wash dry fold machine, so we could do two things. We could dose the proper amount so we weren't overusing chemicals, and we also made sure that we had the product that was specific for that. So one of the things that's really available to wash dry fold operators, which I think is, and almost every chemical distributor has it, is what I call a nursing home blend. So most nursing homes, they deal with a lot of stains, and they deal with urine, feces, food stains, everything that old people are doing, and they're washing their own laundry internally. A lot of them are, and that's also a great account if you're doing wash dry fold. You want to pick up bulk. That's they're frequent. I know a lot of folks that do just nursing home laundry, but there's products made specifically one-dose products, which work really well with the equipment that we have in vended laundry, because really there's only one dose in a vended laundry machine for chemicals. So you want a product that's going to work for that. So that would be a product that, and it's generally liquid. It can be injected. Maybe you can turn those injectors off. You can control access to it, or maybe those machines are just completely separate. But that would be a product that I think, and we use it, or I should say, before I sold my business, we use that exact product on our wash dry fold. It's a little bit more expensive, but it does a great job because it's built and designed specifically for personal laundry, and personal laundry that are going to have some challenges with it. So what'll be in that is probably some enzymes. It'll probably have a little pH in it, but not too much, so you can balance it out. And it'll also have some chlorinated bleach, some oxygen bleach in there for brightening. And the stuff I've all seen also has natural bluing agents in it that will assist in brightening the clothes, kind of like what you see, your liquid Tide. It's got blue in it because that's a dye that helps make garments look fresher. Blue is a natural color blue is naturally in most detergents only because they're trying to reproduce the sheen or the reflectiveness, light reflectiveness of the colors that make them look new again. Products that I think you should have, a good liquid detergent for doing commercial wash dry fold, or personal wash dry fold. That liquid detergent should have some type of an enzyme in it. Doesn't need to be a lot unless you're doing, if you want to give a really great product to it, or a great finished product to it. An oxygen bleach, an optical brightener, and enough surfactant in it that it can, suspend, some heavy soil if needed. And you can, I'm also a big proponent of the color catchers. A few years ago, I can't remember, 10 or 15 years ago, they came out, and even the dry cleaners have a commercial version today that's you can use for multiple loads. You never know when you're going to get a load with what we call fugitive dye. In other words, a dye that did not hold to the garment, just like a red garment the first time you wash it. That's what we call a fugitive dye. It's going to go and attack, or it's going to redeposit itself on everything else in the load. Well, a color catcher, even in the simplest loads, frequently you'll see some blue, and as manufacturing of garments have become cheaper, you see a lot of garments that basically start bleeding their color with a first load, or even the fifth or sixth load. So having something in a mixed load that will protect you as a professional laundry operator is really a good idea. So those are my low-hanging fruit without getting into the whole chemistry of washing.
So I'm just going to take this question because a couple people have asked it, and I don't know, can you share the name of this nursing home blend? A few people want to know what that is.
So I won't share that because I think every good chemical distributor has got a product like that. My product is specific to the carrier of the chemical supplier that I use. I mean, there's a dozen chemical suppliers out there. I'm not going to give you a commercial for anyone because I think it's really important. Everybody should have a relationship with a professional chemical supplier because they're the ones, whether it be your dry cleaning supplier or an industrial laundry supplier, they're the ones that are going to be able to help you with your specific problem. And there are a lot of things to really think about when you're doing laundry for somebody else. And you can get into the pH of your water, you can get into the hardness of your water, all things that hopefully you've evaluated before. But your chemical supplier, my chemical supplier, checks our pH regularly when he comes out to make sure that the balances are all correct in the loads and making sure we're getting the right doses for what we want, because pH in water can change regularly along with hardness depending on your source of water. And if that changes, the effectiveness of the chemicals that you're dosing the loads with will also change. So that relationship's, I think, important. I think that's the most important thing you can do is get that relationship, because they're also a regular resource. You can usually pick up the phone and call them if you have a problem, and they should. If a good supplier will solve that problem for you.
Thank you. All right, let's move on now to caring for the most common fabrics. So, each fabric has kind of its own unique properties that make its care approach unique. So can you share some brief advice on how to care for the most common fabrics? And I don't know if you want me to go down them or you just want to give a general. The ones that were featured in the article were cotton, linen, polyester, silk, wool, and rayon.
So there are really two categories of products there, right? You've got a manufactured product and a natural product. And they're both very temperamental in their own ways, right? And it kind of goes back to that conversation that we were having a little bit ago about how the dyes are applied, because we're trying to do, when we clean, we're really looking at two problems with garments. One, maintaining the appearance of it, which is going to include protecting the color and the sheen of it. In other words, how pretty it looks. But part of that sheen is also mechanical action. So the more you wash a garment, the more mechanical action you put on that garment, the quicker, depending on what it's made of, the quicker, even polyester, it will pill, meaning those little like balls that mysteriously appear on clothes after time. They'll even appear on specific locations of a shirt, like if, like an underarm, like here. if a person's moving that regularly, a lot of fabrics sometimes will pill just from the mechanical action of wearing it over time. So that's the same effect we're trying to minimize in the washing process. There's several things you can do, and again, cottons and other products are going to all be affected by that. Going back to the first item then again is manufactured instructions. Most of the stuff you're going to deal with in wash, dry, fold should be machine washable. Our wash cycles in regular laundry are pretty short. Mechanical action is pretty low. Usually most washing machines, even home washing machines, the actual mechanical action part of the wash cycle and then the rinses. So the washes are usually set up at a max of like 7 minutes. So you've got a chemical dose, chemical reaction of about 7 minutes. You get 7 minutes of mechanical action going back and forth. Then you're going to get a spin. Spins are not that difficult to deal with in laundry because you're putting all the garments on the outside of the drum. They're not moving extensively. All you're trying to do is extract the moisture from it. But in the actual wash cycle where we're washing and rinsing and we're trying to break loose, soil, if you overstuff a washing machine, you're gonna, as long as it's not completely full to the point nothing's moving, you're gonna get potentially higher mechanical action. So let's say you have a more delicate load. You've decided you're going to be a really like high-end wash, dry, fold operator, and you're going to set your machines up with a truly delicate cycle. You probably don't want to fill those loads more than 50%. In the wet cleaning world, which is how dry cleaners have gotten around the perk and gone into wet cleaning, which is basically laundry, they never load a wet clean load more than 50%, and frequently on items like sweaters and things that will really be affected by heavy mechanical action. So rayon, silks, these kinds of things that they're controlling the temperature, the mechanical action in, and we can't do that with our machines, but you can get close to it on a delicate cycle. They're loading it only like 15-20%, so very, very low levels of garments in these machines, and they're very low mechanical action. It's more like a quarter of a turn, boom, 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 where you can put a delicate garment in there where you're getting some little bit of movement in the water and still getting some clean action with the chemicals. So the things, if you're really looking at delicate cleaning, the thing that I would say, which I've told people for years, is invest in a tub where you can fill and hold that tub. I know one of my friends, Rob Mays, built one of these things and had actually a lot of them in his laundry, and another friend, Paul Pettifer, did the same thing. They took 55-gallon drums and they insulated them, and they put a drain spout on them so they could fill it with water that was really, it needs to be over 80 degrees, but when you get to that 80 to 100, you're really pushing the potential for fabric damage by temperature. But anything over 80 degrees, if you can hold it at 80 degrees, you can use it 100% enzyme detergent, and you can do what every wedding dress cleaner does in the country, and that is you basically soak the garment in a high enzyme detergent at 80 degrees and hold it at 80 degrees for several days. Sometimes you'll maybe refresh the enzymes in it, and you can, if you have the time, it will virtually clean anything. I had a friend of mine bring in a jacket that her father, when her father died, that was really precious to her, and it had been stored for like 10 years. He was a smoker, and it had stains on it that were over 10 years old. And she said, is there anything you can do to save this jeans jacket that was embroidered? And so all kinds of unknown equations here, right? We don't know how it was embroidered, what the what the color safeness of the embroidery was. We don't know, how well the jeans were dyed and what the long-term effect of like sun and where it was stored. All these things are things that you're really worried about. I wasn't extensively worried about it because I was able to throw it in an igloo cooler I had and put water in it that was 100 degrees, which I felt safe with, and I enzyme soaked it. It took me 3 soaks, but the jacket came out with a bunch of stains on it prior. It came out virtually perfect, better than any dry cleaner could have done. And you can do that exact same thing if you want to invest in the time. What would you charge for something like that? Restore. I mean, there are companies that do restoration of precious garments that charge enormous amounts of money, but this is all they're doing. And then you want to air dry it, hang it and let it go. And maybe when it's completely dry, you put it in a tumbler, a dryer with no heat or low heat for a few minutes to loosen it up. And now you've got a beautiful garment completely restored. And it's something every laundry operator is technically capable of doing if they wanted to. And that's how I would treat all of these really delicate fabrics that are listed. Linen is a big one. Mechanical action on linen will flat out destroy it because that's just how it's built. It's a very, very loose woven cotton. And if you apply any mechanical action to it, you're going to literally tear it apart. It'll become deformed and out of shape within minutes, and you're basically screwed. I can go on for days, but I think that gives you a good idea.
Yes, that was really helpful. And for anybody who's on this webinar, the article actually gives kind of a brief overview of each of these fabrics as well. So the last piece I want to touch on with Jeff, and then we'll open up to your questions. So I see we have a couple, but feel free to keep putting them in there. The last area is the science of garment care. So again, the article goes very in depth into the science, but I know, Jeff, you are the experts on wash chemistry. So maybe if you can just give what are the most important aspects of wash chemistry that operators would need to know to get the best results.
Again, that's probably a 5 or 10 hour class, and probably the article. I didn't actually read the article, so but I know Bob's sources are pretty good. I think he probably even quoted some of the stuff that we did.
Yeah, it's pretty in depth actually.
I'll tell you what we did when we had DLI do a stain clean seminar for CLA maybe 15 years ago, and we had an expert come in. I think that's where a lot of these things came from. I took that content from the original article, I cut it out, I laminated it, and I put it in a book for every one of our employees that sat behind the counter. And that book was, and I made every employee like review it once a quarter, but it was there as a reference guide. So I think probably the smartest thing to do is have that tool and teach your people about those tools, because DLI even had an app they built a few years ago where you could actually like take a picture of the garment and it would tell you, kind of what it was, and it would give you some evaluation of how to clean it or what the stain might be. Those are really important things to understand. I would have I would have a set of tools that are pretty common and pretty safe for stain treating and garment care, that primarily were good for what we call wet side cleaning and low risk of pulling color, but being able to handle the most common stains. So the tools that I always recommend, the first one is, and this one's the cheapest one, Dawn dishwashing detergent is one of the most amazing degreasers out there that's safe for fabrics. We always had Dawn dishwashing detergent, and Sometimes we put a pump of that or two in greasy loads. You know, if it was really, really bad, we would put more in. Doesn't take much in because that stuff suds like there's no tomorrow. And that's the last thing you want in a load that in any, you know, front load washing machine or top load is a lot of suds. But if it truly is an oily load and there is a lot of grease or oils in there, those suds will be consumed immediately, and you won't see it. So if the temperature's right, it's a great product to have in. And if you teach your people to look and, you know, just put enough in until it starts to sud and don't put any more in, and do it slowly, and do it when the drum is at the highest temperature. So on a, you know, as hot of a cycle, it's a great thing to have. But as a stain treating tool, we mix that 50% with ammonia, and now it becomes a great protein stain treater. So blood, milk, you know, or dairy products, anything that is a high pH, it becomes a great inexpensive stain treater that you can use on, you know, on garments that you want, if you want to just stain treat them before you put them in. The other side of that equation is an acid, right? Whether you have vinegar or a specific acid treatment that you want to have something that's going to take out tannin stains. And when I say tannin stains, low pH is what that refers to. And what some of those are is like coffee, juices, things that are acid in base, right? So they're usually things you think of that like rust. Rust is something it's also organic, but it's on the negative pH side, and those kinds of things will break that loose. I wouldn't have anything more powerful than vinegar. You know, the dry cleaners make some really powerful acid stain treaters. I know dry cleaners to this day that shake because they exposed themselves to that for, you know, for years, and it got into their nervous system. So I would stay away from some of the professional ones, but, you know, vinegar, you know, or like I said, you know, they talk in a lot of these chat rooms about lemon juice. But those kinds of stains, and have the chart, have that reference, anything that's an acid base, having those two things. And then the final thing that we always had, because one of the most common things is people are going to get ink marks, whether they crayons. Well, the latest inks, almost all of them are soy based. So your ammonia and Dawn will do a pretty good job, but every good chemical distributor has an ink spotter, and it just does a much better job, especially when ink is something that, if you don't really have a stain gun with the access to steam and compressed air, you've got to you don't have the right mechanical tools to do a great job of getting ink out. So you want to have the best chemistry you can. So I would invest in having an ink spotter and everybody's got a different brand that they sell. I would try it. If you don't like it, try something different. Most guys will have most, you know, salespeople will have a couple different products, but it's a really common stain that you can generally do a pretty good job with a blotting tool and that chemical to get those stains out if you come across them. Those are the three things I would have on your stain treating board. You muted yourself.
Yes. So before we move on to questions, someone asked, I keep referencing this article in Planet Laundry, so in case you missed it, is the August issue. And one thing that the article also has, which is in relation to what Jeff was just talking about, is it has advice for how to get rid of the top 20 stains. So it you know, lists ink and red wine and grease and all those things. And so when talking about having a reference tool, that might be a good thing to keep in your laundromat, share with your attendants. So highly recommend that if you have not read this article, read it, keep it. I think it's a good article to keep as reference. So, all right, we do have several.
Wine?
What?
One of my favorite things, wine. Don't I look like a wino? And that's an acid side stain, so you definitely want to have your vinegar, and yeah.
First question is going back to the care label discussion. What if you see items that clearly shouldn't be dried, like certain brands of yoga pants? Should you just dry as instructed?
So it depends on the equipment you've got. The problem with air drying in a laundry operation is you really don't have the space. And it becomes difficult. So if you have equipment that has moisture drying capability, or even better, no heat settings, you can still pass the air through a shrinkable garment, or a garment that, like the yoga pants. The problem with yoga pants is there's kind of twofold. It doesn't like the heat because it'll react to the heat, and then number two, it doesn't like the mechanical action. But then you don't have the space to air dry it. So you've got to kind of mix those two. Another great one that's really bad that we see all the time is fleece. Whether it be a fleece jacket or fleece blankets. You just need to. And the nice thing about all of these things is they dry really quickly. So it only takes a few minutes of low heat or no heat, and believe it or not, it'll be almost dry. So the best thing to do with that would be separate it out, dry it individually for a short period of time on low to no heat. And if you have no heat, it's the best. Low heat, I would just do for a couple of minutes, and then you would want to hang it to finish the drying process. Maybe it'll take a couple hours, depending on how many of those garments are in a load. But it's probably one of the bigger challenges of doing it. If you're really going to do a great job, that's how you would do it.
Great. Next question is, what is the best everyday stain remover to spot treat customer stains?
I gave you that answer. Dawn. Dawn and ammonia. You're not gonna see that unless you're hanging out with me. You're not gonna see that many wine stains, and you're not gonna see that many acid side stains. The most common ones are gonna be the ink stain, so you want to have that, and then the everyday that we use all the time. I mean, it in my mind, it's better than like a Shout or a what's the other one that all those over-the-counter ones. It's a lot less expensive, and it does as good or better job, depending on what the stain is. Ammonia.
Ammonia
And Dawn.
You talked about
bleach around it.
Oh, sorry.
Sorry.
You talked about soaking garments with heavy stains and using an enzyme products, and they're wanting to know what enzyme products would you use for that?
So there's a lot of different ones out there. Probably the most common and easiest to get a hold of from a chemical supplier is a commercial shirt laundry powder. So if you have and you want the high-end one, they make cheap ones, but most commercial shirt, so your regular dry cleaner, they wash, if they have a powder detergent, they're washing their shirts, the ones they're pressing, like what I'm wearing, they're washing that with an enzyme detergent. And the better ones are going to have a more expensive product. And I really don't even know what they cost today because I haven't looked at my cost sheet, but a 5-gallon pail of it a few years ago was over $200. It does not take much. A 5-gallon pail will last and if you can get it in a 1-gallon pail, get that, because unless you really plan on doing a lot of soaking, it only takes, like an ounce per gallon of water to make a really strong concentration. And it really doesn't take much. But the best that your chemical manufacturer will sell. You want to get the best quality because it's going to, enzymes are expensive. You want the detergent with the most enzymes in it because that's going to be the most ability to do this cleaning, right? And what enzymes are is they're little microorganisms that basically work on different types of stains. There's about 5 to 8 categories of enzymes, but a lot of detergents will only have 4 categories in them. For the laundry side, there are other enzymes that do things like clean oil spills, and they put in sewer treatment plants to clean water. But specifically on the laundry side, the more expensive ones will have a broader range of enzymes in them, and they'll be a higher concentration of them. So that's what you really want, is a really, really good shirt laundry enzyme detergent.
So kind of related to this, this person's wanting to know if you can give an example of an optical brightener and a color catcher. You mentioned those, but I think they're not quite sure what an example of that would be.
Well, an optical brightener, your grandmothers, or maybe your grandmothers, your great-grandmothers today, would have had it in their house. It was called Mrs. Something's bluing agent, and it came in a bottle. And everybody would put that in their white loads in the rinse cycle. And it's what reason why Tide and a lot of laundry detergents are blue. So blue naturally reflects sunlight. So optically brightening something is changing the way that our eyes look at a fabric and how the light is reflecting off that fabric. So what it's doing is it's doing 2 things. It's adding dye back in it's more friendly to reflect light with, which blue does. And it also is softening the fabric to some extent. When I say softening, it's making it look more reflective. So flattening the fabric. And they're naturally in almost any high-end detergent. Those kinds of things are included in those higher end detergents. And I don't know, I mean, I think you can buy them still. You'd have to go really look at a hardware store or a convenient, like a Target or a Walmart for, Mrs. Something's bluing agent. It's still out there, I'm sure. But I mean, you definitely do not want to have your employees dosing loads with that unless they really know what they're doing. Because the other thing that can happen is if you don't mix that properly, you'll get blue spots on garments that will show up. So it really needs to be mixed well in the load. So, I mean, I wouldn't go out and buy a bluing or a brightening agent. I would just make sure that your manufacturers, you're getting a product that has it in it. And your chemical salesperson should have that. What was the other part that
Color catcher.
Color catchers, right. Procter & Gamble came out with boxes of them, and they looked like dryer sheets. And they looked like a box that came out in dryer sheets, but they were single use. Okay. The stuff that you can get from your dry cleaning supplier is, depending on the size, they have 2 sizes. They have a 50 use or a 30 use, and it looks like a towel for all intents and purposes. A microfiber towel without the roughness to it, like a really high sheen microfiber towel. But it's got chemicals on it that will attract fugitive dyes, and they actually work really well. And what will happen is you'll see that color of that change over time as it is holding and collecting dyes. And as it gets darker, that's when you know to stop using it, right? So its original color is kind of an off gray and a really light off gray. And then as it collects more fugitive dyes, it becomes darker until you really shouldn't, probably use it anymore.
Last question is, this person said they've heard that with wash, dry, fold operations, you should avoid fabric softeners and scent beads. So do you agree with that, or what's your take on that?
I think it's what you're advertising. I know people that, like Waleed out of New York City, is all about the smell.
Uh-huh.
right? How he
Yeah.
brands and produces his product. I mean, he intentionally puts like lavender and other types of fragrances
Sachets.
in sachets into the actual packet. So I think smell is entirely depends on your market and how you're building your product. And there's some really interesting scent things that you can do. There's a lot of people that are looking at wash, dry, fold that are allergic. So you need to be able to react to that, right? Because some of these some softeners are designed to do two things. They're designed to reduce static electricity, which nobody wants static electricity because then you're just like clinging on to everybody that you walk by. And the other thing is it's supposed to make the fabric feel softer. So what is it doing? It's again kind of like the optical brightener. It's leaving the ends of the fabric that are usually breaking off and what creates pilling after wear, the loose ends of cottons and other fabrics. What it's doing is it's laying that down. And how it's laying it down is it's putting a thin coating of wax, basically, or a wax type product on the garment so that it creates a shine. That's two things. The static electricity builds up on the ends of these little tentacles that are the fabric, which is what creates static electricity, electrons on the end of that very, very dry piece of cotton or whatever it is. That's holding electric charge, and that's what creates static electricity. If you knock that down, it eliminates electricity, and it also leaves the fabric feeling softer. So that's what fabric softeners do, and they do it by leaving a residue. Some people can be allergic to the residue, right? A fabric softener sheet, if you take it and feel it, it feels waxy. What it's doing is it's literally coating it. A liquid fabric softener is doing that same thing. It's leaving a residue on the load, and it's going in the last rinse, just like starch does when you're starching shirts, and it goes in the last rinse. So some of it is retained in the fabric so that when it goes to the dryer, it's also the thing that coats the back end of your dryer and turns it black is fabric softener that's liquid or on a that's burnt. It's the wax on the coating on your clothes that you need to get off. I think that answers that question.
Yeah. I don't think I want to use fabric softener. I don't, and I don't think I want to start. All right, that brings us to all of our questions. Do you want me to show a few minutes? We have a couple minutes left of the folding video.
Yeah, so we just want to promote this. Because this is a wash, dry, fold seminar, CLA one of my key employees, Katrina, and if you were at the last wash, dry, fold seminar, Eleni, we created this document as a way, in a lot of different ways, just to help your employees come up with some level of consistency and wow your customers with that finished product. And I just want to promote it. It's on the Wash, Dry, Fold. This video is on the Coin Laundry Association's YouTube channel. And I mean, it's a great thing to use just for showing your team some ideas of how to create that finished product. It's 20 minutes long. We're not going to show the whole thing, but let's give it a quick kickoff for a second and show it for a few minutes so you have an idea of what it is.
Sure, and I'll mention that this whole program is being recorded, and you will all receive an email with the recording within 24 hours. And there's also a link to this video on our YouTube channel so that you can watch the whole thing. I'm gonna go to YouTube so it's bigger.
Is there audio with it? Because I can tell you. So we give some different examples of how to fold and tools to fold, you may use the Foldimate. You know, Katrina's going to show a couple other different things. But I mean, really what this is it's just a bunch of different tools of how to create, or ideas of how to create a, you know, a really nice looking finished product. And I think whenever I talk about wash, dry, fold, I say your customer's first impression is always their first look at the finished product. So yeah, they're going to walk in your store, they're going to gain some confidence that you know what you're doing by how well you present your wash, dry, fold area, how clean your store is. But really what you're going to be judged on is when they get that product home and when they open it up, you know, how nice does it really look? That's really the first impression. And you want that right there. You want that really nice, consistent, everything's the same size, looks like it's brand new. So I'll wrap this up by saying, for any of you that are going to the Wash, Dry, Fold seminar coming up here end of first week in October.
October 4th through 6th.
I'll be there. If you have more questions, you can wrangle me down. I'm going to do a presentation on commercial laundry and how to clean that differently than what we are talking about here. All those articles are obviously in the in those two books. And obviously the Wally book is a great one too. I mean, Wally's kind of my mentor. So I would, you know, those are two great tools to have as well. But reach out to us, you know, if you want to see us at the Wash, Dry, Fold seminar.
Yes, and both these books they are available on our website in our e-store. If you do happen to be attending the Wash, Dry, Fold conference, we are doing a discounted bundle if you buy both, and you might even get Jeff to sign his copy of the book because he will be there. If you're unable to attend the Wash, Dry, Fold event, I also wanted to share with you what we have left for virtual events for the rest of this year. So again, these are all based on feature articles in the magazine. So October will be laundromat makeovers. November are 10 factors to consider before buying an existing laundromat. And then we'll end the year with 5 simple customer promotions that really work. So you can find all of these details and registration on our website, our event calendar. They're all free to attend. So thank you so much, Jeff, for taking time to do this today. I appreciate it. It was great information. Again, if you didn't hear, this is recorded. You'll get a recording. So I know it's a lot of information. You can go back through it. Once again, highly encourage you to read the August issue of Planet Laundry that talks a lot about garment care. So thank you all for attending. And if you're going to be at Wash, Dry, Fold, we will see you there. Thank you.